Okay, so part two. So I want you to try to challenge yourself a little bit. Here are three more thesis statements, and I want you to see whether or not you're able to figure out whether these are thesis statements of policy, fact, or value, and to kind of be considering it a little bit, and see, and you can ask me later offline if you want, if you're not sure, but see if you can start seeing and noticing those. So I know when you're writing, sometimes you can feel stuck and get a kind of writer's block. So I'm going to give you these two templates for thesis statements in case you run up against that. These also include the things I really want in the thesis statement, which is the type of stereotype you deal with, the type of identity you have, and maybe what the effect was. So here's one that says, living with the stereotype of, and then I just put in an example, being a Mexican and a young mom, comma, I avoided my desire to study engineering and stopped challenging myself. So this one would set up both the identity, the stereotype, what the effect was, and how that impacted this person. Second one, as a female firefighter, I dealt with many stereotypes regarding my size, strength, and commitment to my work that impacted my performance. And so you might have different paragraphs there about like your physical size or strength or commitment in the body sections too, and you could talk then about performance for that one. And so again, these are just all different types that are depending upon your identity that you could plug in, but these are templates that could be useful for you. Okay, and the other thing that's really important is in the introduction, you want to make sure you set up like the background or the conversation that's happening. And so there's 4 points that you need to make in this introduction. The first one is something about the idea that, most people think stereotypes are not, they're in bad taste, they're not great, but they're not that harmful. They're innocuous, they're harmless. And we see this in humor on TV like South Park and things like this. But Steele, in his research, Claude Steele, proves that the stereotypes do impact everybody, and they can carry serious consequences if you don't know how to deal with them, or if you're not aware of them. And so you'd want to introduce his title of the book, his name, and a little bit about his research in a few sentences. The next point you want to make is introduce yourself and maybe talk about your background, and a little bit about your identity and the stereotypes you face. And then you would have your thesis statement like the one I just gave you to plug in. So those are the 4 points. You can put them in a different order if that feels more natural to you, but these are the points that hopefully you could make in that introduction. So now you're brainstorming, or how are you going to set this up? Everyone does it differently. Some people like to outline like the typical, more traditional outline with Roman numerals. You might prefer mind mapping, and there's also online free software, mind mapping software. You can do this. You don't have to be this fancy. And you might also like essay skeletons. I'm going to place one of these blank ones in the module for you, so that you could like just download it anytime during the quarter for any of your essays, and it has all the steps for each body paragraph and a place where you can make notes. So choose something that you think works best. You could use more than one. You might mind map first and then write an essay skeleton, as a way to kind of like write out more detail before you type up your draft. Okay, last little bit here is about paragraph development. Just a reminder, because it might have been a while since you've been in an English class. When you're writing your body paragraphs, you want there to be some steps that you take. You want to organize them around a topic sentence. That topic sentence should cover the content for the whole paragraph. So for instance, you might be writing a paragraph about how stereotype threat regarding, let's say, your gender and your academic performance, people would make stereotype you about, let's say that you were in a physics class and you were female, and they wouldn't call on you, or they wouldn't want to be in your group. And you could mention that in your topic sentence. You explain that a little bit. You might give some evidence, like an example of what happened and how you responded. And then you might analyze what the impact was. Now you'll see this last bullet on this slide. You are going to then also in each body paragraph go back to I would go back to Claude Steele, and add something in from the text. So you can do that first or second, but if you do it second here, you would then give an example. So for instance, the white kid in the all-black class, he changed his behavior. All of a sudden he felt shy. He was worried about people thinking he was racist because he was the only white kid, one of the few white kids. So his whole behavior and his performance was impacted. His behavior changed and his performance was impacted. So, and that would be something you could quote for that paragraph. Okay, so you want to do topic, sentence, explanation, evidence, analysis, and then another piece of evidence from Steele and a little more analysis. Okay, so that's kind of the body paragraph structure for each body paragraph. Probably 3 body paragraphs is fine. Could do 4 if you want. So when you're thinking about your evidence in this T paragraph thing, the third step evidence, you want to know that there's 3 in general: facts, statistics, and those could be, you could pull from the text. Quotes from the text are fine. You could also give your own personal examples. We give quotes for expert opinion to add credibility. Examples are real or imagined. Imagined probably won't work here in this essay, but they are good for getting emotional responses if you're saying things like, well, what if it was your sister? And you give an example of something that makes people think hypothetically. But in this one, you're going to be using real examples from your own life and quotes from the text, and maybe some facts and stats from the text as well. Okay, so last slide, some upcoming due dates. The online discussion on stereotypes is July 5th, which is tomorrow. Many of you have already done it, but make sure you finish that one up and you respond to some other people. Discussion questions, those take a little while, so make sure you give yourself some time. That's due on the 7th. Summary to the introduction is due the 8th. And then the thesis outline, which is kind of like your mind map or your outline with the thesis statement, is due on the 10th. So you have over the weekend to do that. I'm not going to be around as much this weekend. I am going out of town, but I will be checking in, and definitely available via text at any time. So if you have questions or get stuck, let me know. I'll be around a lot up until Thursday, and then after that I'll be gone for most of the weekend, but will be available via text, or text is the best way actually. So if you have questions, let me know before then. Otherwise, I look forward to reading your summaries and getting kind of into the content. Thanks.